Hello, everybody, and welcome to the April 5th Trips and Traps. I'm Andy Serling, joined by Eric Donovan.
On the main track for a few races here this week, actually 4 to bring you, and we'll start off by taking a look at 3 races from March 28th, and this is the 5th race, a 2-lifetime claimer for fillies and mares.
Yeah, the start was the most important part of this race, as it frequently is, and it very much affected the 2-horse Bella Rose as she really caused the problems, but also a horse who was the speed in this race, Too Tough Sissy. Too Tough Sissy gets badly affected at the start, and she ends up running off there.
Yeah, I didn't realize, without watching the head-on, it's kind of tough to tell what happens with Too Tough Sissy because she's in the middle of the pack. Important to note also that Ballarella did break through the gate before the start and was reloaded, so, she had multiple gate issues in this race here.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. I'm glad you brought it up. Obviously, there's the leader, and there's Ballarella in the back of the field. Ballarella just feels like once that happened to start, even though the race melted down a bit, though really it was the stalkers who dominated, she ended up in a position. It may have had a little bit to do with, as you pointed out, what happened before the start of the race, but also what happened as they came out of the gate. It feels like she was in a hopeless position, and if you liked her in here, and she was a relatively short price at just over 5-2, you can draw a line through this race.
It seems like these 2 horses might have been affected greatly mentally by the start here, because Too Tough Sissy, I thought was in a commanding position here, even though, she sped off to get the lead and opened up a big lead here. I thought she was in a commanding position comparing to the horses that she was running against here today. Toward the back of the pack, there's Ballarella, but she might have just freaked out a little bit at the start and just gone too fast early on, and Ballarella might have just been so discouraged from the episode at the gate.
We saw this in a much more high-profile race earlier this year when Hansen made his return in the Holy Bull, and he stumbled at the start in his first race of lap, and he ended up running off. And I think it's a very good point you make that horses they'll get startled and they'll end up acting in a way that is against their best interest because of what happens at the start. And frankly, I don't think Too Tough Sissy ran that badly. Now, she's entered again the day we're filming this Thursday. In an entry, she may well scratch from there. Watch what happens to her as she gets slammed and pinballed around, and also what happens to Ballarella as she ends up causing her own problems in the inside, though I think Too Tough Sissy's just a little bit unlucky. She comes out a little bit, almost maybe clips heels, bangs into the one inside of her. I mean, it's like a pinball machine out there.
Yeah, you see her throwing her head around, too, so not too happy with the break there for sure, and then she just speeds off and goes to the lead. Different story for Ballarella, who had the bad break and just sat to the back of the pack.
I think they're 2 horses that, look, listen, you have to like them. You don't just automatically bet horses on trips, but both these horses took money in their races, and I think both horses ran reasonably well, and better perhaps, or could have run better than they did on paper.
We'll take a look at the 6th race now from March 28th. This is a state-bred maiden special weight for 3-year-olds, going 6 furlongs to 7. Big Shot in the News, the winner, who we're impressed by, and the 12 Cybertron, who has some trouble from the start.
Yeah, Cybertron seems like he's just not getting over those issues that we saw from him last year, even though he's been gelded since his 2-year-old season. I was very impressed by the winner, Big Shot in the News, because he's a first-time starter that took money consistently to basically stay 7-1 the whole way. Here he is separating himself. Here's Cybertron, who we'll get to, and we'll show a lot of the head-on. But Big Shot in the News seems like a big, dumb horse out there that never stopped running.
Yeah, no, it seems like he's just kind of figuring things out a little bit in this race, chasing in the 3 or 4 path down the backstretch here. And, a race that I think, kind of comes together a little bit at the end here. Cybertron, though, the 7 Big Shot in the News, the eventual winner, kind of losing some position there, not really keeping up with the pack and being wide, too, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's bearing out, and you see his rider, Cece Lopez, has been banging away right-handed out here. I mean, he's out legitimately in the 5 path or so. Cybertron, forget about where he is. You'll see it in the head-on. He's in the 6-7 path, and we'll get to him, as we said. But Big Shot in the News, a first-time star. I'm not saying he's going to win second time out, but I think he's a lot better than his close win suggests. And you're right. The field came together at the end, but yet as he bears out, usually when horses do that, they just sort of disappear into the woods somewhere. He keeps coming, and he's the one that comes the best. And frankly, the second finisher, say Mr. Salmon, I think he returns on Saturday. Thought he had a perfect trip, Eric.
He did,
Eric, and this horse was just an hour better.
No, I agree with you. I mean, considering it's his first start, he was a little green, a little wide, and figuring things out. And here to run like he did from start to finish, I was impressed by it too. So Big Shot in the News certainly one to look forward to some good things coming from. Let's get to Cybertron now as we take a look at the head on. He's going to break from the outside.
Yeah, he's on the outside. Doesn't help because he's such a nutty horse. This horse inside of him breaks out a little bit, herds him out. But you were talking about it before, and I think you're right, Eric. Ryan Cortolo just had his hands full with this horse once again because he wants to get the horse in, but Cybertron wants no part of it.
Yeah, the gut reaction when you're watching the race in the pan is saying, what is he doing? Why is he out there so wide? But, you see him here. He's got his head tilted in. He's driving him toward the inside. He'll get in, maybe about a path back there before Cybertron hits the turn again, and then he goes, back to the outside, and, he's trying desperately to keep him inside here, but Cybertron wants nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot blame Ryan Cortolo as you see him with his his arms. He's trying to straighten him, and this is the eventual winner, by the way, inside of him. You can see how wide he is. But Cybertron, he was a bad actor last year. It's funny. They gelded him. It seemed like in his prior start, when he was down on the inside at Gulfstream, the rail wasn't the place to be, he had acted much better. Obviously, a horse like this getting post 12 is not exactly a help, and you can see him. I mean, he's leaving the screen of the head on. I mean, look where this poor horse is. He's way out in the middle of the track. The winner's here as well, but I mean, Cortolo is banging away on him right-handed, trying to get him to come in, and he's just drifting farther and farther out. He certainly needs an inside post. I don't know, blinkers, some sort of change. I don't know what they can do with him. Not a trainer, but he's obviously a handful. I think he can run. He's shown that he has ability. The question is he going to be one of these horses that just annoys bettors because he'll always do things that prevent him from winning?
Right. That's one of the things that I found hard about going with horses like him and trying to predict what they'll do in their next start is because they have these habits and they're not good habits to have in a race and they had somewhat of an excuse last time out. But where do you say, okay, well maybe he'll figure things out? I guess you let price be your guide and see what you think's a fair price on him and try to get a couple points over that even if you want to bet him.
Yeah. That's a fair enough point. It's weird. It's one thing when he started out his first two starts, a 2-year-old acting badly. Okay, you have time. 2-year-olds can change from one start to another. But when he's been gelded and now 9 months later he's still pulling similar shenanigans, you start to wonder if it's ever going to change.
And we'll take a look at an opposite case from a Cybertron as we look at Sin Codigo in a turf race here, March 28th, race number 9. This is a $25,000 claimer.
Sin Codigo is a horse who was clearly prepared to win a race and was ready to win this race. And it's no fault of Junior Alvarado. In fact, he really earned his money riding this horse, and he did so many things right. But this horse just refused to let him, just to accept the right things and win a race he was going to win if he would have acted better.
Yeah, I don't think he was too happy here in the beginning stages of the race, surrounded by horses inside, outside, in front of him and behind him here. He tries to settle him a little bit here, and he does, but the break I didn't think he liked all that well. And he's still throwing his head up a little bit there. But the real problem with Sin Codigo comes in the stretch.
Yeah, and the thing is, he seems to settle, and we're not going to watch the whole head-on in this race. We'll watch the one in the stretch. Here, when he's outside of horses, but he is a horse who's lugging in badly, and you'll see it in the stretch, but you'll see him throwing his head a little bit. He has an easy path to get outside and clear of horses. Junior does a perfect job being behind horses. He can angle them out in the stretch, and the horse is just turning his head, and he wants no part of it.
No, he doesn't. He's a horse that probably likes to just be in the clear and,
I think he wants to be on the rail, this horse.
Wants to be on the rail?
Well, yeah. I mean, if he's lugging in that badly and not running if he gets in the clear, because he could have gotten in the clear, Eric, and he just refused to go in the clear. I mean, he had that opportunity.
When a horse comes alongside of him, you think that might change things for him a little bit? Do you think that makes him a little more, hesitant or green?
You might have to ask the resident expert, Mr. Migliori, for his opinion on that. I don't know. I mean, maybe all horses are different in these situations, but if you're lugging in, they seem to be horses that want to get to the rail. These are problematic horses. He's outside of horses here, and he's not responding. He's got nobody really near him, nobody outside of him. The horse is moving easily inside of him, but yet he seems to have horse in the stretch. You see him here. Yeah. He could have been outside. He could have gotten the clear. He could have no problem. He's lugging in. He lugs inside of him, and he'll continue to turn his head.
Yeah, Junior tries to get him out into a clear path there, and he's just going to run into a ton of traffic in mid-stretch through the end here, the wire, and Junior's just going to have to steady him because he's got nowhere to go.
It's like a combination of the horse, the traffic. I mean, he had his chance to get out, and certainly Junior wanted to do that, and you see him right here. He's just got a handful of horse, and he's pulling up on this horse. There's nothing he can do about it. I imagine it was greatly frustrating. We'll see him for a second. Now, he's obviously outside the blue horse or just behind him, and it's a situation where he could have gotten the clear. He had no problem doing that. Look at him turning his head. This is where he's not cooperating.
No, he's not. I mean, you see his right elbow's cocked, trying to get him to the outside there. Just will not get to the outside at all. The head's turned, but the horse is still going straight and refusing to turn. Then, right here, he's just jammed up.
I want no part of this horse going forward, Eric. I think this horse is going to catch a lot of people's attention. People are going to say, look at this horse, see whatever, whether it was traffic or whether it's understood or misunderstood. And not that you and I have an absolute clear understanding of what was going on. The problem with a horse like this is you're going to tell me the next time he runs he's going to behave himself? This is a horse who had a 3-year break between running down in South America. It's his second start here, and he got bet in here. This was go time. And you know what? They were right. If Gary Contessa trains him, they should have gotten the money. He just didn't give it to him.
And you got to think these claimers are just going to get a little bit tougher also as the season gets underway.
That's the other thing. Listen, maybe Gary will be able to straighten him out, but a horse that's been off that long, there's obviously a lot of issues, and to turn this horse around overnight might be something that's just too hard for any trainer.
One more race to look at. Back to the dirt on March 30th, race number 8. This is a allowance optional claim. We're going 6 for 3-year-old fillies. We're going to look at the 1 True Feelings, who was a horse that got a good setup in here. The 2 Double the Energy, and I thought the 8 Union Victory ran well, too.
Well, if you're going to bet anybody out of this race, you want to bet the horses that were on the pace. There's the 1 True Victory, who was True Feelings, who was awful in finishing 5th. There is the 2 Double the Energy, who finished 4th, who ran an exceptionally good race. Oh, DeSammy, Gary Contessa, in this situation, got the source. He closed from dead last. This race, Eric, a classic meltdown.
Classic meltdown. The pace is quick in here, 21 and 4, 44 and 4. The quarter and a half mile times here, and the horse on the lead is the 2 Double the Energy, a Maryland-based horse for John Saltzman, who's cutting up these wicked fractions.
Yeah, and I was very impressed by the race this horse ran. It finished 9 lengths ahead of the horse who's right behind him. Now, on the other hand, there's True Feelings, a horse who had finished second as a 2-year-old in the Schuylerville, was a horse that took advantage of a pace that came apart that day, but had some ability, had run second at Gulfstream in her 3-year-old debut. The race set up perfectly for her, and you see the rider is just banging away on her back there. Oh, DeSammy is actually behind her, the eventual winner. Yet you have Double the Energy, who actually finished a nose in front of True Feelings. But if you compare the way the 2 horses ran in the context of the race, I think that Double the Energy, and I think you agree, just ran a much, much better race.
Oh, absolutely. There's no question about it. The 8 Union Victories in the second now, chasing that pace 3 wide. I thought she ran quite well in here, and Sacred Success, the big favorites behind Union Victory there. And we'll talk about a little bit about her afterwards, but just no run here from True Feelings. Double the Energy doing all that she can to hold on here, and just too much early pace.
We had a few meltdowns last week, which is why we wanted to show this race as one example. And I think it's just the lesson in it is when you find races that melt down, it's not anything you use Formulator, you look at the charts of the races and you see how they were run. Obviously, you want horses that ran in a race the way that was dichotomous to the way the race was run. You want horses that had speed. Even if they finished 4th, beaten a few lengths, it's a better effort than a horse that may have finished second, a couple lengths in front, but took advantage of dynamics.
We should probably talk about Sacred Success a little bit in this race, because I got a feeling that she's going to be bet again next time out. And she's a horse that may have been a little bit too close to the pace, but she's a big favorite there. She's not right on the pace. Probably supposed to do a little bit better than that. I think she's just a better horse when she gets the lead herself.
I think you're right, Eric, and I thought a lot about her too, and I agree. She may have been a little too close to the pace, but it's not like she ever pounced. It's not like she pounced, opened up a length or two, and somebody came from the clouds and caught her. You're right, she never ran like a horse that was comfortable closing from behind. And I think in her first race also, which was one of her worst efforts, she tried to close, got a perfect trip, but she still couldn't hold off a closer in that race. I think you're right. She may be overbet in the future, and unless you think she can get the lead, I think she's a little dicey as well.
Yeah, fun races on the main track for sure, with pace scenarios involved here.
I agree. There's so much more going on than just trips. In fact, trips sometimes distract people when it's really how the races are run, and hopefully some of these races gave you an idea on that. We always can use your help. We need your comments at tripsandtraps@NYRAinc.com.
Thanks for watching.